Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Welcome, everyone, to Game Over Calgary, following a 3-0 win for the Calgary Flames over the New Jersey Devils. First and foremost, I do want to say, recognizing that this has been a very tumultuous last 48 hours or so for trans kids in this province, and just in general for the entire LGBTQIA2S plus community in Alberta, given some stuff going on with the government. But one of the big things about Game Over is you are always welcome here. We see you, we love you, and please know that you always have a welcome spot here at Game Over Calgary and the entire Game Over network. But yes, to the hockey game now. 2 goals in 28 seconds. Some crazy how the Calgary Flames, who looked like an ECHL team against the Utah Hockey Club, come out and pick up a win over one of the top teams in the NHL, the Devils of New Jersey. 3-0 is the final score. We are going to cover how the hell they did it, plus some great work from Kadri, from Vladar. Couple things that didn't go perfectly in this game. We will talk about that as well as this game, or as this show rolls along, and always want your guys' chats. We're going to get to those when we get into overtime here in a little bit. But yes, we have a lot to cover on this one. While you guys are hanging out, make sure you hit that like button and like the subscribe buttons. It's like right there. Just go do that too. And we'll be good with you here on a Friday night. But first, I do have to let you guys know that you should check out the flagship show of the Game Over Network. It is on the Game Over YouTube channel, Game Over Network YouTube channel. Words. Hyperdrive Hockey, all things hockey across various leagues in multiple countries, whatever it is, wherever it is. Max, Daphne, and Kev have you covered for all your hockey news with a steady dose of fun and fan engagement. You can find Hyperdrive Hockey on the Game Over Network YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts on the Hyperdrive Hockey page at the GameOverNetwork.com. So the Calgary Flames with a 3-0 win over the New Jersey Devils in what was a really entertaining hockey game, I thought, at Scotiabank Saddledome. First of all, killed it with the pregame ceremony with the Backlund. The hype video was great. I thought a nice touch where there was obviously a play with Johnny Gaudreau in there as well, given the emotions around all of that. And so I thought just really well done all over the place by the Calgary Flames on that particular thing. They did a great. And also, can I just say, for the record, we need to 100% normalize giving kids the silver stick as well, the silver mini sticks on the celebrations there. That was fantastic. I love that should happen at everything from now on. I don't know if that is something that has been done elsewhere, or if this was a Flames original idea or what that was, but that needs to happen at every 1,000 game celebration from here on in, because that was perfect. And the Flames have done a really good job with these pregame ceremonies. And so that is, That's another check mark for the Calgary Flames. Toxic Predator in the chat. Does Backlund deserve to have his jersey retired by the Flames? Do a little tease here from the whole radio thing that I used to do, and I guess still kind of do. We'll talk about that in overtime. I do want to get to the game, so we will talk about that when we get to the text questions here at the end of the show. But a great question there from Toxic. The third period is obviously the shining star of this one for the Flames, where when you score 3 goals and all of them come in one period, probably going to be the highlight of your game. And I feel like for the Flames, there was obviously a jump to this one, given the pregame ceremonies and stuff like that. Again, when you give children silver hockey sticks, that's going to give your team a bit of a boost. But I really feel like they came out and played very well. They had a disappointing road trip. Coach calls out the effort and all of those things. And so they responded fantastically. And then the second period, Devils came out and kind of, I don't want to say took it to them a little bit, but leveled the playing field at least. And so was interested to see how the Flames would regroup in the third period. And it felt like after the two teams exchanged penalties, there was just kind of a deep cleansing breaths as this game kind of settled in. And I thought the Flames did a really good job and responded really well. And then one of the things that was obviously preached throughout the night, and Kelly and John talked about it on the broadcast, this team was firing at will with getting pucks on goal. It was a non-stop barrage all night of just pucks to the net, pucks to the net, pucks to the net, pucks to the net. And they did, that they finally were able to break through on that one with a ball hold to the blue line, long shot, deflected in, and Calgary takes a 1-0 lead, and then it's a 2-on-1, and it's Mantha, Huberdeau. How many of you thought it was getting back there, right? Like, that was my very first thought, is he is in there tight. I was like, I think he's too tight to pass. I think he wants to pass. He might try to pass this again, and he ends up just passing it into the back of the net. So I thought it was nice, again, for this Flames team. And look, we understand, again, and I feel like I'm putting this caveat on this all the time, but we have an understanding here that this season isn't necessarily just about the results or any of that, right? Like, this is about development and all of those things. And so, again, it is nice to see, not necessarily the result is good, but it is nice to see this team respond in this way, and it is nice to see this team be rewarded for that response. They came out and looked like doo-doo against Vegas and against Utah. And then, again, like I said, the coach calls out the effort. That effort was there in this game. And so, for a young team to have that kind of a response when your effort gets called out, check mark, fantastic. And then to get rewarded for that, again, like you were in the beginning of the year, love to see that. So again, it is about the different, like, again, the foundation that you were putting in place with the Zaris and the Coronados and stuff like that. And there was obviously a message sent tonight with Mantha responding, although he had a bit of a rough one to start with the power play, which we will absolutely get to here in a second. But Kuzmenko gets just bolted down to the bench in the last half of this hockey game. And unless there was an injury that I missed, this is basically because of poor play. And so the coach is sending some messages. And again, players were responding. I thought Coronado, in his first game back from his long journey down to the American Hockey League with both games that he played there, I thought Coronado responded really, really well with how he played with Backlund and Coleman. And I thought that there was a real kind of up in the effort from guys like Pospisil. Lomberg always brings it. That's never going to be a question. But that was great. I thought that was really good that they were able to respond in that sort of way. And I thought the guy kind of leading the charge tonight was Nazem Kadri. Right from the word go, he was out there and really dictating the pace and kind of setting that standard that the Flames were going to live up to for most of this hockey game, with creating some very good opportunities. And he was buzzing. I thought he was going to get a couple tonight. He ends up, I'm pretty sure, off the score sheet entirely, but he was, I thought, great and provided a nice little spark for the Flames. And then I thought defensively they played okay as well. This is a high-powered New Jersey Devils team. I thought, just a quick note here, because, and look, I'm guilty of it too. For those who don't know, I was on the radio out here in Calgary today. It's a thing I do on Fridays. And I said, oh, well, the Devils are first place in their division, like just casually glancing at it, not realizing they've played like 5 more games than everyone else. And so that's kind of cherry picking a little bit. The broadcast did it as well tonight. I was like, oh my God, the Devils have the most goals in the NHL. I fucking hope so. They've played like 10 more games than everybody. Obvious hyperbole, but still, yes, they should, but still, they've been scoring a ton lately. I think the stat they flashed up on the broadcast was this was a team that has scored 4.6 goals in their last 6 games. So they are buzzing around. And I thought Calgary did a pretty good job of limiting that. And then when the chances did come, Dan Vladar was pretty solid in net. So it is passing marks most of the way around. And that's got to be good to see for Ryan Huska, who not only called out the effort of this team, but also went out there and just shook everything up with the line combinations in this game. And again, like I said, for the most part, I thought it responded. I thought that you had a really nice game from Sharangovich, and I thought Kadri was going. And like we said, Coronado was playing quite well as well. So that there's a lot of things that I think were a lot of buttons that Coach Huska pushed in this game. And I think all of them pretty well worked for the Calgary Flames. So a lot of A lot of good stuff to take away from this one. As mentioned by our Game Over bot overlord, passing grades -1 skater. Yes, no, there are obvious exceptions. And I would say one skater and a couple units as well. But we will get to that in a little bit. Couple notes here from the chat. I didn't have a Dan Vladar shutout on the bingo card for this game. Yeah, no, that is... That's fair. That's fair. Also, we had J Money talking about how badly the Flames suck. Look, we know. Not a great hockey team, the Calgary Flames. We have an understanding on this that, yeah, we are not watching the most talent-rich team. And that was something that I said, again, earlier today. This is a team that they could go out and play a perfect hockey game. They like the exact everyone on this team could play as well as they possibly could, and the Flames could still lose because there is against most teams in this league a pretty significant talent deficiency, and so I think that there should be an understanding that, yeah, no, that they're not great. But when they come out and play like this, they're going to be a bit of a difficult out for some of those top teams in the league. Still going to talk a little bit more about what Matt C. was saying with Dan Vladar and talk about how good he was. But we're going to address a couple of things that weren't so hot with the Calgary Flames this evening. Get it? Because it's fire and it's anyway. So all that still to come, plus Backlund conversation that Toxic Predator has brought up that we're going to get to when we get to overtime. But I do want to remind you that the Game Over Network is an independent production focused on community inclusion and quality people. If you're interested in supporting the Game Over Network, we have crowdfunding options available. In the description of this episode, you will find a link to our Patreon page, and we are also working on a page through LaRouche, a crowdfunding platform for companies originating in Quebec. For LaRouche, we are aiming to raise $15,000, and if we hit that goal, we'll gain access to government grants that will allow us to employ more people. If you have any ideas of what you would like to see as giveaways from ththese crowdfunding efforts, let us know in the comments, like right down there. I guess maybe it's over here. Mine's a little shifted, but still, comment on how you would like to see us kind of address this and a few fun things you would like to see us do. You can also let us know on Twitter, Instagram, or our Discord server. It's wild. I had all that memorized. None of that was read. So yes, positivity abound for the Calgary Flames, coming off of a win over the New Jersey Devils here tonight, going into the Battle of Alberta on Sunday night. Wasn't all perfect, though. And the first part of it that wasn't perfect was the power play. It was the opposite of perfect tonight. It was dreadful. It would have had to improve greatly to be bad. This is becoming a bit of an issue for the Calgary Flames. This team, coming into tonight, has scored 5 power play goals all of the season. For reference, Winnipeg has like 30. And I'm only exaggerating, kind of. It's been a rough go for the Flames power play so far this season. And part of it, like last year, you could kind of understand it because they weren't all that great for a lot of the year. But when you brought in Kuzmenko and you have a Barry and you have now Anthony Mantha who can be the big body presence in front and all of those things, it was supposed to get better, and it didn't. And that is, I think, something that's a little concerning. I put this out there on in our Discord and then out on Blue Sky and Threads as well. The Calgary Flames power play this year, when Tyson Barrie is in the hockey game, is right now running at, I think, doing the quick math, I believe they're around 1 for 12, 1 for 13 now with Tyson Barrie, depending on what the final numbers were power play wise here tonight. I can't remember off the top of my head, but basically rocking at around 8 or 9%. In the games that Barrie's not in the lineup, they are at 18%. And so this is all fun with small sample sizes and stuff like that. Also, Barrie on the power play this year, high danger chances, it's at 50-50 right now, which is suboptimal when you're talking about a power play. And if this was almost anyone else, I wouldn't be focusing on them. But he is almost specifically here to help with that. and like just in general kind of help out on the offensive side of things. But the power play was supposed to be the thing. Oh, well, the Flames don't really have that power play quarterback. You know, they don't really have that guy up there. This is going to be that puck mover that helps out with everything. And Conrad and I kind of talked about it the last time that I was on here with him. That only works if that's going to be the thing, then it has to be the thing. It can't just be, okay, well, now he's in this game and he's not in this game, and he is and now he's not, and he is and he's not. You can't just keep like, okay, well, this time it's in, this time it isn't, because you're trying to build continuity here. What is the best way to score on the power play? It is to kind of get the defense moving around, and that creates some opportunities. How do you do that? Nice, crisp passing. You know what affects nice, crisp passing? When there's a guy out there who only plays half the time. And so you can't get the crispness that you need for some of these high-level power plays to actually work when there's a guy who is only out there for 50% of the games, and you're trying to develop that chemistry and you're trying to get that moving, and it's just not, because again, you're unfamiliar with the dude who is at the top. And it is not just that it happens to be a different defenseman. You go from 4 forwards and 2 defensemen and 1 defenseman, although if they would put 6 skaters out there, maybe it would be better. But you go from the 4 and 1 to the 3 and 2, and that's a bit of a different setup. And like, Tyson Barrie is not your usual defenseman. He ends up being basically a forward out there, but it is still a bit of a different setup. And so it has to be a bit of a mind mess for these guys when it is, okay, well, now it is, and now he's not, so who is it going to, oh, it's not Barrie back there, it's this guy this time. I just feel like if you are trying to get a real feel for what this power play is, and quite honestly what this team is, he's got to be in there or he can't be. And my vote right now would be for can't be. I feel like there are more guys I want to see on this team. Because of how this team is structured currently, he has to play on his offside anyway. It's not going awesome for him in that sense. And the power play that he was supposed to fix sucks. So I don't see the point in him with this team right now. And yes, I understand. Like, look, I was one of the ones who kind of defended it when they first brought him in on the PTO, because it was like, if this guy can click, then at the very least, just like what I kind of thought the Mantha trade was, or the Mantha signing, is that you have gone out and signed a 3rd or 4th round pick at the best case scenario, because then you can move him for that, and off we go, continuing on the rebuild. But this is just kind of getting in the way now. And it's not working. And if you tried to trade him right now, what do you, like a 7th and 28? Like, I don't know what you're getting for him. So it just, this sounds very harsh. I just don't know what the value is in having him here right now. And that's, again, feels kind of mean, but that's where we're at. Like, I would rather see what some of the kids have instead of him. I would rather see a couple of other guys actually get a look instead of Barrie. And Matt C in the comments here, or in the chat, Tyson Barrie is the weirdest Flames signing since that time we signed Mantha, which, yes. And again, the Mantha one, I can understand what they are going for, because he is supposed to be kind of the Huberto whisperer, right? And the first couple of games of the season were great. But now he's kind of faded off into the distance, and that kind of sucks. But for Mantha, again, it was kind of a hope that you either get our top guy going or we can trade you at some point. But if he's going to be consistently playing on the 4th line, I don't know what you were getting for him. And now, because you have basically every forward in the American Hockey League scoring every game, it feels like it is kind of clogging up a spot that shouldn't be clogged up right now. So yeah, the couple signings that are looking a little bit head scratchy for the Flames. Toxic in the chat. Future considerations. Yes, no, for sure. A conditional 7th round pick, or a conditional whatever. Those ones are always really, really funny. And I would love to be in the room for when those things are negotiated. But yeah, the power play, not great. And then a part of that is Andrei Kuzmenko. He was, again, supposed to be the one to unlock this new level in the power play, and that just didn't, it's not happening with him right now. And this was one of the things that people who you would talk to who watch the Canucks would start to tell you about Kuzmenko. It's a little inconsistent. When it's on, it's really on. And he can be one of the most talented players out on the ice. But good luck getting that like 8-9 games in a row. If he could consistently be at his best, then we are talking about like the most talented player on this team, that's for sure. And like genuinely one of the more talented players in the league. Not like a top 10 or anything like that, but like we are talking about a very high skilled player. And he for whatever reason, it just doesn't get put together on a night in, night out basis for this guy. And so I thought a nice message sent by Ryan Huska, stapling him to the bench there in the third period, unless there has been an injury update that I have not seen yet. Looking for no one's. I don't think it's been brought up, at least from what I've seen. But either way, it's interesting what the Flames have done with him. And so that's another one where you kind of want to. This is a big year for him. And I think a big year for the Flames with him as well. And I had said coming out of last year, because of how well he played, like I wouldn't hate it if the Flames kept this guy around. But again now, because you have a bunch of guys who are going, and not to make these wild assumptions 11 games into the season, but I think we all kind of know what direction the season's going to go anyway, despite a 5-0-1 start to the year. And so I would kind of like to see some of the kids get a little bit more of an opportunity. And so players like Kuzmenko and Mantha, you kind of got to be undeniable for the Flames to keep you around here right now. And that certainly has not been the case for those guys. So a little bit, just a little sprinkle of negativity on a Friday night after the Flames picked up a win. We are going to look at one more very key ingredient to what the Calgary Flames did in this victory over the New Jersey Devils, and then we'll get to overtime, taking your chats here live right now on YouTube. But I do want to let you know that Game Over, obviously, we got you covered after the game. That's what we're doing here right now. We're talking fast. We're maybe a little bit too caffeined up at 10:25 on a Friday night, but we're having some fun here post-game. But hockey's more about just after the game, right? It's before the game as well. We get you ready for that. You got to get over to Game On. Game On Hockey is a short-form daily news podcast covering everything you need to know about the hockey world today in under 10 minutes, hosted by Graham Mosman, who is doing an unreal job on those. Monday through Friday on the Game Over Network YouTube channel and in podcast form, which you can find at thegameovernetwork.com. Game On also features a number of real fun anecdotes from Graham as he kind of sets everything up from across the league. He's done an awesome job with it so far. I cannot give him any more shout outs. The dude's been crushing it. So go check that out over on the Game Over Network YouTube channel and also the GameOverNetwork.com. So, Flames won. Last segment, a little bit negative, but we have to get back to the positives. And we can talk about the effort. We can talk about all of these things tonight. But one of the cool parts of it is Dan Vladar was just flat awesome in this game. I'm not going to go so far as to say he stole the game for the Flames, because I think this was actually a pretty even contest. And I still think he did well, though. I thought he was absolutely tremendous. And picking up a shutout, and it was nice to see the boys kind of pick it up for him there at the end, even with a penalty kill that they had to deal with. This is going to be a conversation all season long about what to do with Vladar, what to do with Wolf, how do you do this, how do you do that. The good thing is we got 82 of these things. It's a pretty long season. There's going to be times where Vladar is going to stumble and Wolf can come in and step up. And there are going to be times when Wolf can stumble and Vladar is going to pick it up. But there's also going to be times where one of these guys is just undeniable. And Vladar, maybe not perfect against the Vegas Golden Knights, although who was for the Flames in that game. And so it was nice, again, against a very good offensive team to see Dan Vladar shut the door. And for the Flames, who are still trying to find their footing defensively, it's nice that not every defensive mistake is just ending up in the back of your net. And so for Vladar, I think, again, 10 out of 10, no notes. Just I cannot speak highly enough about the job that he did between the pipes for the Calgary Flames. And I don't know what the future holds for him, whether he is trade bait toward the deadline, even though goalie trades, for whatever reason, can be a little bit difficult to pull off, or if he is trying to just burst his way into not long-term future plans of the Flames, but at least kind of like nuzzling his way in to trying to figure out where he's going to fit in with the Flames in the near future anyway. And yes, an assist on one of the Flames goals as well. So doing a little bit of everything. I suggested goalie fight on the radio today. That probably wasn't going to happen. Although you wouldn't want it to, because Jacob Markstrom's insane. But I still think that Vladar, him playing this well, is just such a great sign for the Flames, and such a a big boost for this team who you don't feel like you have to throw your young, I think, still qualifies as rookie goalie, out into just the mouth of the beast on a nightly basis. You can put Vladar out there against the better offensive teams in the league, and you can allow Wolf to have maybe a bit of a softer landing spot in some of these instances. I don't want them to baby Wolf too much, but I do think, again, Dan Vladar being this sharp to start the season, it gives the Flames a little bit more options, and it gives them a little bit of a safety net with how they want to handle things with Dustin Wolf and how they want to handle things just with the goalie position in general going forward. So again, a real positive sign tonight for Dan Vladar and for the Calgary Flames, because he was fantastic. Okay. So Wolf does not qualify as a rookie. Either way, super young goalie, and his first full-time season with the Flames. So nice that, again, you have a bit of that safety net there from a Calgary Flames perspective when you are looking at the goaltending position. And again, overall, talking about how well we have seen Vladar play, basically, with the exception of the power play and a little bit there from Kuzmenko, this was a really strong game from the Flames, and it was getting back to the type of play that the Calgary Flames need to play if they are going to have any success. And I am not just talking about this season. It wasn't even just like the pace that they played, but this is the work ethic they are going to need. And that is kind of the base you want to establish with this team that, look, I don't care if they win the next 5 draft lotteries. This is still the type of hockey we are going to play. This is still the type of work ethic we are going to expect from you on a nightly basis. When you can set that example for the kids early on, I think that is great. One more note before we get into the messages here for overtime. I thought defensively, like we talked about how that they played in their own end, but I thought the defense also helped out on the offensive side of things really well tonight. Ball with a nice hold after a real good shift from the Backlund line allows Coleman to get that deflection, leading to the goal, leading to the win. I thought Pahal was really active in the offensive zone tonight, and he was good. And I think Uyghur, again, is great. And Miramanov and Uyghur, it's still not perfect, but I thought they played pretty well as well. So I know I'm just kind of gushing, and it's like, oh, Mr. Burns, your campaign has all the momentum of a runaway train. But this was a really good Devils team, and this was, if I were to be perfectly frank, not a result I was expecting this evening. So maybe because of that and the low bar that I had, I feel like maybe I'm gushing about this team a little bit more than maybe is warranted. But I thought they played great hockey tonight. Matt C is asking, oh no, you were right. I have not been doing very well with the period counter thing. There we go. Up to period number 3 there on that one. But anyway, Matt C, is there any way we can sign Vladar, or is he guaranteed to be traded? I don't guaranteed to be traded might be a bit strong. I will say that. I think that you could see maybe a bit of a contract extension-y type of a thing, or another contract at least for a Dan Vladar, right around at what he is making right now. I think that's something you do in the offseason. I don't think you need to do that now. I think you explore as many trade options as there will be out there, whether it is a high-quality team losing a goaltender for injury or for whatever reason, or just some inconsistent play with a goalie and try to take advantage of that situation. I think you kind of leave that open as the season goes on, Matt, but I do think that this is it is not a situation where I think you just have to get him out at some point just so you can get something back for him. I think if he is not traded by the deadline, I have no problem bringing him back on a shorter term kind of an extension. It depends on what he wants and how well he is playing. Like if he's asking for $5 million, then yeah, kick rocks. But if you can get him for kind of around where he is at right now, then what? I see no reason why you wouldn't. So that's kind of where I'm coming at with this one right now. I think you can kind of work that one out that way. But I would still be looking to trade him, and I would still kind of lean trade if you can get it. But like I said before, like I'm not trading him for like a 7th or future considerations or anything like that. I would have to I would have to get something at least decent in return, and then try to if that doesn't work. And if he leaves for free, he leaves for free. Like this isn't Hannafin or whatever, where you have to get something back for him. Oh no, we didn't get the 5th for Vladar. I think is okay, but it's an interesting conversation, and he's playing his way into it more and more and more based on how effective he has been here so far this season. We do have, by the way, some ways you can support Game Over, and there is no better way than supporting us by rocking us on your body with clothes. Game Over apparel, the line has dropped with 3 unique designs. Whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, want to make a statement with our established design, or you want to wear your love for goalies proudly with our live and die by the goalie design, or if you just need another coffee cup to get you through the winter, we have you covered. Designed by Brady from Game Over Winnipeg. Use the QR code that I forgot to put up. So, but links in the description here, and you can check out the apparel store and help us rebuild local sports media in Canada while repping your community. So it is now time for overtime, and a really good message in the chat here. Does Backlund deserve to have his jersey retired by the Flames? Obviously tonight it is the very pro Backlund this evening, coming off of the celebration of his 1000th game. I still wouldn't if it were me. I think that should be reserved for like the highest of the highest. And while Mikael Backlund, this is not a real note on like how bad on anything of him, this team just hasn't had a whole lot of success here. And so while he has stuck around for a really long time, and that's awesome, and full marks to him for that, I still don't think it is a jersey retirable resume. And so this is why I haven't loved how the Flames have kind of situated it all, because you have a couple of guys in the Forever a Flames that should have their jerseys retired. And so I think that the Forever a Flame thing should kind of be the next tier below. So I think jersey retire should be like, and we've kind of talked about this before. Toxic will know this from the Twitch streams that I do on my personal channels. I think we need to have some statues outside this new building. We obviously need to have Lanny with the cup. We need to have Iggy with a giant clapper, and then probably a Kipper thing, and maybe even a Peter Marr thing. But that's a story for another day. I think that after that, I think the jersey retire should be for the elite of the elite in this franchise. And while Mikael Backlund has been fantastic for a really long time, it's still playoff-wise and all of that, it's not quite there. So I think Forever a Flame would be a perfect thing to have a Mikael Backlund in that spot and put him and honor him in that way. And I think that if you wanted to have some kind of a community initiative named after him when his career retires, the Flames making $44,000, or the Flames Foundation, making $44,000 in donations to 4 charities combined there for that Mikael Backlund goes for. I think if you wanted to do something like that on an annual basis in the name of Mikael Backlund, that is something that would be, it feels like kind of specific to him because he is so very involved in that side of things and has been so very community oriented for so long with this organization, and just a whole lot of stuff that people like that we don't even know about behind the scenes and all of those things that he has done. So I think maybe something along those lines of like naming a community award after him and doing that would be good. But jersey retirement, while we are very pro Mikael Backlund around these parts, I do think that one is maybe a step too far right now. Peter Marr and Ed Whalen, Sharon and Mike make that statue. I would have no problem with that too. Yeah, something Ed Whalen I think would be very necessary there as well. Conrad asking in the chat, I have trivia for you, PK. 3 other goalies in Flames history have a shutout with an assist in the same game. Can you name them? Like I am strictly just guessing here. I would assume Mike Smith, just so active playing the puck, probably had at least a shutout. And so I would assume that he would get something along those lines. And then Kipper probably had enough shutouts that one of them, the puck kicked off of him to Iginla, who then went and scored. So I will say that as well, just because he was great. And then let's throw out Fred Brathwaite, because why wouldn't we want to reference Fred Brathwaite on a Friday night here? So if we can tell me that I'm 0 for 3 on those, but before the stream wraps up, that would be very good. But yeah, this has been a whole lot of fun chatting with you guys tonight here on this stream. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video and make sure you subscribe to the channel. A lot of great Flame stuff coming up, and honestly, it has been a bit more of an entertaining season than I would have expected already so far this year, and they have done a good job of kind of, I was going to say staying in these games. The last road trip would not lead to that, but there's at least a lot of things to talk about, and there's a lot of things to cover as we go along with this season. All right, we have the answers. Kipper, Pat Riggin, and Rick Tabarachi. Those are going to be guesses 3 and 4, or 4 and 5 for me, for sure, obviously. All right, that is probably going to wrap things up here for Game Over tonight. Again, one more time, like the video, subscribe. If you like all of this that we are doing, like, man, I would just like to just be able to listen to it instead of watching it. You know, well, you're in luck. We got podcasts for you as well. Basically, wherever you enjoy podcasts, we are there as well. So check out Game Over Calgary, wherever you get your podcasts. Up next for the Calgary Flames, it is the second edition of the Battle of Alberta. Conrad is going to be the Calgary representative for that particular game. Right now, the Edmonton side, I don't see a host written down. So, Conrad and TBD coming up for you on Sunday for a nice Flames crossover. The Flames are the home team for that one, so that one is going to be right here on the Game Over Calgary YouTube channel. You can find me on social media. I am at Primetime Klein. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your Friday night, and we will talk to you again after every Flames game right here on Game Over Calgary.